Hey, this is Rick. Welcome to Spit Take, where we randomly have episodes now. And here's my co-host Adam.
Hello.
What's going on? What's on your mind, man?
Oh, not too much. We um been very busy with work, so I haven't had a chance to watch a lot. But last weekend, I did get a chance to watch Princess Bride, which I haven't seen in like at least 15 years. It's been a very, very long time, and I was telling you a little bit about it before we started recording. I think there's a different appreciation that I have for it now because I just didn't. I don't think I got it when I was so much younger, but the writing on that movie is just so amazing, and I don't think I ever appreciated it when I was younger. I mean, and everybody in the cast is just awesome. I was Snapchatting the scene with Billy Crystal and Carol Kane because it's by far one of the best scenes in movie history. Just the two of them going around. And I know there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff with them, like they had to use a dummy for Carrie Elwes because he couldn't stop laughing while Billy Crystal was talking. I think Mandy Patinkin broke a rib or sprained a rib, something like that, while he was they were doing that scene too. So I just have like a new appreciation for it. It was just so good, and and there's a reason why it's such a classic. I mean, I know it's been a long time. You said it's been a long time since you've seen it.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I see it. I know Fred Savage is in it, and I I keep thinking about it, and then Robin Hood Men in Tights keeps coming up in my head because Gary Yules. So
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not there because I know Andre the Giant's in it, and I love Andre the Giant. He's one of my favorites ever, and that's one of the most talked about. But then I start thinking of Andre the Giant. Then I start thinking about Little John.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Robin Hood Men in Tights is a great one with Carrie Elwes too. But watching the movie, it was just so good, with like the casting in there again. It's absolutely perfect. And yeah, Fred Savage being in it. And then do you remember back when Deadpool 2 came out, they did the bit to sell the PG-13 version of it?
Yeah.
That was pretty good. But no, the movie was just so funny, and there's so many quotable lines from that movie. And I mean, of course, one of your favorite characters, Michael Scott, is quoting it often, I think.
Yeah, the wedding. Didn't he call it at the wedding?
Marriage.
Marriage.
But there's and there's a lot of lines again that I don't think it really resonated with me as a kid that as an adult I find much more amusing. There's a part where Robin Wright says, well, we'll never make it out of there alive. And then Wesley says, well, you're just saying that because nobody ever has. And I was like, okay, like that's a clever line. But this was during a run that Rob Reiner had because he directed that movie. But he had a good run for like 10 years of like solid movies. I disagree with him politically on most things, if not all things, but the guy knew how to direct a movie. Princess Bride.
But politics wasn't as extreme back then.
No.
So, I mean, Hollywood's off its rocker and everybody's leaving the country now. But, I mean, I probably agreed with a lot of his stuff, especially thinking of him as Meathead. And All in the Family, which is one of my favorites ever. Like a lot of the stuff he said in there, I actually agree with, but he argued with Archie about.
Yeah. I mean, it's been such a long time since I've seen All in the Family. I probably couldn't name a single episode, but Rob Reiner, like, I mean, he's got a solid career behind him. And I think I don't know what it was about this movie, but it was just perfect. And you don't see writing like that anymore. Like, I feel like there was thought that went into every single word that was spoken in this movie. And I don't feel like we get that kind of writing anywhere. Like, I was trying to think of a movie that I could compare it to, and I drew a blank. I was like, I don't think that there's a single movie where the writing is as clever and thoughtful as this movie. So it's on Hulu right now. So if you haven't seen it in a long time, I highly recommend going and watching it. Because again, I have a different appreciation for it. I always loved the movie as a kid, but I wasn't sure if it was just nostalgia. Kind of like Hocus Pocus. Not a good movie, but there's some nostalgia behind it that makes it fun. But this one was just, it's actually a good movie.
Yeah, it came out at a time when fantasy was huge in the 80s. Like the 80s has the best fantasy movies, especially dark fantasy. And it was, different than that because there wasn't really dark fantasy elements and stuff, but there were some fantasy elements in this country that doesn't exist and in a different time. And so it really fit in well with that kind of genre fantasy type of era where I guess we have newer stuff that has come out, Lord of the Rings, which, I guess that's older now, but I guess I'm old, but Lord of the Rings and not to mention the book's old, but,
Yeah,
Game of Thrones and stuff like that. Like the movies like this really paved the way for those type of movies.
definitely. And again, Carrie Elwes, I mean, just how great he is in everything he's in. But this movie just, was just like his true colors. I mean, there's so many great things. Mandy Patinkin was great in there as Inigo Montoya.
Yeah, Nino Montoya was a good character. Everybody knows his line.
Yeah, exactly. And Andre the Giant, he's great in there, and he's got a lot of good bits.
That was close to the end of his life there.
Yeah. But I was reading some stuff about it, in the kind of the background, and I guess he walked around set calling everybody boss because he doesn't like people being kind of afraid of him because of his size. So he was trying to like humble himself around everybody, which was really cool. And I guess he said everybody was very nice to him, and it just sounded like it was like a good set to work on. Like you hear the horror stories of some of the Hollywood sets and the behind the scenes, but it seems like everybody on the set seemed to just be working together like perfectly. And that's probably why the movie comes out so great.
Apparently, there was a Princess Bride video game in 2008.
Really?
And a lot of the actors came back to voice it. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines that was in there, and I know I watched it as a kid, but like it stuck with me now, was was Andre the Giant throws the rock at Wesley and misses him, and then he's like, I could have just hit you there, but where's the sport in that? And then he's like, why don't we do this like, man to man? And then Wesley's like, so you put down your rock, I put down my sword, and we try to kill each other like civilized human beings.
And Robin Wright is really perfect. I mean, maybe then she was a damsel in distress, but she's a real, like, if you're going to have a feminine, strong feminine, like, centerpiece for anything, like, she was in Wonder Woman and Justice League. And, like, she's got a really badass look. Like, I feel like if I don't want to piss her off. I feel like she can kick my ass.
Oh, probably. I mean, she is kind of a badass.
I'm masculine and
Yeah.
but I still wouldn't mess with her. And
No.
she's very hot, even in her however old she is.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about Robin Hood Men in Tights, and that's probably my second favorite Cary Elwes movie. He's so good in that, and that was probably, I want to say that was probably like the last good Mel Brooks movie we really had. Like that was kind of like I wouldn't say it was the peak of Mel Brooks, but it was like the last really, really good one that we had. I mean, that's a tough one to beat. I love it so much. It's
Dave
by far.
Chappelle.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle was in it.
Chappelle was that too? And they kept saying bless you.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle was in it. God, from Major League, Joe, the guy with Joe Boo. I can't remember his name. He was the dad of Achu in the very beginning.
Isaac
Serrano.
Hayes.
Yeah,
I sneeze.
Was it Isaac Hayes? Yeah,
Isaac Hayes. Yeah.
yeah. He was so good in that. But that was a solid movie. Patrick Stewart coming in at the end was fun.
Dom Louise.
Dom DeLuise. Hard to beat. Man, we lost some good people.
Yeah.
Since that movie, but that one was such a clever
Tracy
movie.
Ullman was hilarious in that too. She played creepy like
The old witch lady. Yeah.
She's trying to bang the Prince John all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That one was so funny.
Tracy Ullman's hilarious. She was in Curb Your Enthusiasm recently, the last couple seasons.
Oh,
And
is she?
she's hilarious in that. She's just this repulsive chick that that he's forced to like be with and have sex with
Yeah.
because he's trying to get this I think it's something I forget. I think something about the pool because she's on the city council and he's
Uh-huh.
trying to get a law passed or ordinance passed so like the pools have to be a certain height off the ground or something like that. And
Yeah.
so he starts sleeping with her to get it passed, but she's like very repulsive. She starts talking about, I get this gas right around here.
She was funny in that
She
movie.
is so funny.
She is. Yeah, she's oh god, that was great.
Then Richard Lewis, Prince John was great.
Richard Lewis, yeah. I mean,
His
god
mole
damn.
kept moving around.
Yeah, that was such a good movie with some really good classic Mel Brooks bits in it. Um, yeah, man, that was a good one. Yeah, like Carrie Elwes, though. I mean, he was in Psych occasionally in different
Yeah,
episodes.
he had one of the best twist endings ever in Saw.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he was great. He was great in Saw, and that was God. What was that? That might have been the last time I had seen him in something. I mean, I'm sure he's done other things, but I don't know
He
his.
has done other things. He was in, well, let's see, he did Twister.
Mhm.
Uh,
He was good in
he's in the new
Twister.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I think he was the bad guy in the new Mission Impossible. I didn't see it, but
Yeah, he's done other things, but he's like, yeah, he doesn't pop up like he did in the
no.
90s. But I feel like I don't remember him in too much. Like, but when the stuff that he was in, I really remember him.
Right. When you like see like, oh yeah, he was in that movie. I remember that. Well, like the sword fighting in Princess Bride was immaculate. Like they took their time to really make some of the greatest sword fights in movie history. Like it was wonderful to watch. I'm trying to think. There was something else. I mean, again, you go back to the Billy Crystal, Carol Kane, two of the funniest people ever to walk this earth. The two of them together, just like going at it against each other as a husband and wife. Like, get out of here, you witch. I'm not a witch. I'm your wife. It's so good. Oh my God. I love that movie. Cool.
Mamie
So
Yazbek looked like she stopped acting in 98, but she was in the all-time classic Problem Child and Problem Child 2.
oh yeah.
I actually kind of want to go back and watch those.
Right.
John
Like you want
Ritter
to
was
see,
in it. Come on.
right. You want to see as as a kid, did you just enjoy it because it was kind of stupid and a kid being like bad? Like, was it
I
actually
knew as a
decent?
kid it was stupid, though, and I still liked
Was.
it, probably because of Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah.
Gilbert
lot of-
Gottfried is hilarious in it.
He is. He's good in it. Wasn't Kramer in it? Michael, what's his face?
Michael Richards.
Michael Richards.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was in the
there.
first one. He was like the bad guy or something.
And then the second one, he got the sister.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. God, I fucking forgot about that movie. It was bad. Like I'm thinking about it and I remember scenes from that movie.
Dennis the Menace ripoff.
Yeah. I remember like scenes from that movie and it was bad. It was very bad.
I'm telling you, I knew as a kid it was bad, but as a kid, like I don't know, they hooked me. That's just like I don't remember when my daughter was smaller. My wife made us watch Beethoven, which has been so long since I've seen it. It's like I know it's a bad movie, and
Right.
and
I
I
used to be able to peddle anything to us as kids.
I know, but those movies were good for kids though. Like
They were.
but at the same time, I really loved Ladybugs, and then I watched Ladybugs. I was like, no, this is not good, and it's really changed my view of Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah. And it was what was the other one? Blank Check. Do you remember that movie?
Oh, Blank Check, that was a good one.
That movie was problematic at points. Like there was the older lady who was hanging out with him and she was like, maybe in 10 years, when you're older. And it's like, well, hold on a second here.
Well, is that
Like-
any worse than Big?
No. All of those movies, all of those movies are so bad. Like Big was terrible, and I mean, and I think it was Cracked After Hours did a bit about that, where they were talking about like body switching movies and how problematic they are, and they talk about like he at the end of the movie when he decides to go back to the thing, so he leaves the boardroom and then she follows after him. So they point out like this guy is never seen again, and the last thing they saw was her going out and chasing after him. Like all these people in the boardroom, she's definitely implicated in him being a missing person.
Well, like, yeah. Well, like in Big, like the neighbor kid is missing, but they still let the kid run around Chicago on his own, and he's hanging out with this adult, and no one's saying anything.
Like, what does it sound like when like the first time that he shows up back at his house and sees his parents, and he's trying to explain it to them, like, yeah, I'm actually your son, and I know this and this. Like, they don't call the police or start to question, how does this guy know so much information about my son?
Yeah, I was like,
my missing son.
Like, there's no police investigation at all.
There's zero follow-up to that whole situation. Like, when he shows up, there's like, oh, where have you been? Like, he's been missing for weeks. How did he get a goddamn apartment? Like, you have to have a paper trail of some sort. You need social securities. You need all this
I'd like to think that movie was created in an alternate universe where people don't know how to deal with tragedy. Like, people don't know what to do. They're just like, I hope he comes home.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, goodbye, little Charlie. Have fun running around town.
It's been a week. Should we check on him? Nah, he's fine. Don't worry about it. The 80s were a different time. You could just disappear for weeks at a time and nobody asked questions.
That's not a lie, though.
No.
Well, I mean, that was me for the 90s.
Yeah.
I did disappear a lot, and no one asked questions.
I don't know that I ever just left and didn't tell anybody where I was going.
Oh, I did.
But there were often times where I walked, to my friend's house he lived about a mile from me, and it doesn't sound like it's that far, but it's kind of far for about an 11-year-old to just walk over to by himself, Like, it was a different time.
No, even in the 80s, I was riding my bike, and I lived out in the country in this little redneck area called Rest Haven, which is right by Wilmington, Illinois, which people call Hammerville. And I lived in a little trailer, and I drove about 3 or 4, probably 5 miles to my friend's house. And it was this kid whose mom was a crack addict deadbeat, and the dad wasn't around. Like you never seen the mom around, and there was 20 boys there. It's like all boys, and she when she was there, she didn't even care that I was there. It didn't ask about my parents or nothing. And I'm pretty sure she was hammered, and she was trying to play with the Ouija board by herself. And so she's sitting there doing this, smoking a cigarette on the Ouija board while we're just playing Nintendo. And then they had this mentally handicapped brother who was this tall, lanky kid, and he ran around with a sock, and it was filled with something, and he just hit me with it, and he'd run around naked, and then all his brothers would just laugh at me. That's real. That's all a true story. And I've literally, I've thought about that a lot lately, and I'm like, what was going on then? What? I drove off. My parents didn't know where I was at, to this house full of there's tons of boys there, tons of kids. Yeah. They all looked alike, and it was very, very much a distant memory. And so I had to be 8 or 9 years old, and their mom's cracked out and non-existent, and they don't have a dad.
Yeah. Well, it's for me growing up as a kid, in our house, we had a wooded area behind us. It was decent, and maybe 5-6 acres, maybe. But, it was a decent wooded area. They've since torn it down, and it's senior living houses behind there now. But, there used to be this wooded area that me and my siblings would just go out and play in. Nobody ever bothered. We would just go out there. We'd throw sticks at each other. We'd dig holes. We do whatever we want out. It wasn't like it was far from our house, and we didn't go super deep into it. And the lady who owned the land would come out once in a while, and she was very nice to us. She would just be like, yeah, go ahead. Have fun. Don't get hurt. But, we just disappeared into the woods. we would just be in our backyard, disappear into the woods, and nobody ever said anything. Yeah, and maybe my parents remember it differently, and they were like, they're like, well, you weren't that far. We could see you the whole time. But like, to me, I was like, we were in the woods playing.
No, I remember because it was a heavily wooded area, and when I'd go down the street, and my friend had a 2x4. They had a big yard, but we went into the woods, and a 2x4, not a piece of wood. They had a what's it called? A bike, he had a dirt bike. And we'd hold on to the back of the dirt bike while the other person drove, and then we'd just be sliding on the ground, going super fast on this dirt bike. And I'm surprised we didn't get hurt. We were doing it for a good while before his mom came out and yelled at us.
We used to do so much dumb shit as kids, like my little sister, she had this, I mean, she couldn't have been more than 4, 5, 6 maybe, and like she had this little I remember this little purple car, like one of the red and yellow, the little red and yellow cars, that you ride in. Yeah. So she had this little purple car, and I would tie a rope to that, and then I'd tie the other end to the back of my bike, and I'd ride it around the cul-de-sac, and I'd be like whipping her around this cul-de-sac. And I'll never forget one time I like whipped her around, and the whole thing crashed into a neighbor's car, like the back of the car, and started sounding alarm. And I went and got my sister and the bike. I was like, come on, let's go. We got to get out of here. I like ran inside.
Oh, yeah.
Just dumb shit, man.
Of stupid stuff as a kid. And my daughter barely leaves her room.
Yeah. But see, like, I don't let my daughter outside without my eyes on her. But she's also 3. You don't know what they're going to do.
Well, my daughter's been walking home from the bus stop, but it's not like that far from the road to my house. But like I can't see it, but that's about as far as she really goes. It's really hard these days to not to let your kids just wander about.
Yeah. You hope that they're just smart enough to do it safely and pay attention to their surroundings and everything.
I'm looking at other movies from the 90s that were kids' movies. Miss Doubtfire was very problematic.
We watched that recently, and it's funny, but yes, it is very problematic.
I mean, it's kind of creepy. It
is
when you think about it.
It's very creepy. Like, it's endearing because he wanted to just be close to his kids, but the way he went about that, not so good.
It was not good.
And at the end of the movie, everything's just okay because, he made a big speech in the court. And like, well, not so good, actually.
You ever watched The Black Cauldron?
Yes.
And why won't Disney let that on Disney Plus? Because that was a good movie, but...
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that movie. I know I've seen it. I just can't remember for the life of me what that movie's even about.
Well, there was like skeletons and stuff in it, and people were so frightened. Like, it was like the forgotten Disney cartoon because... it frightened people so much, kind of like how Return to Oz did.
Yeah.
And so it bombed so bad because it was so frightening. But it's actually a really good movie.
Huh. I'll just see if I can find that somewhere. It's got to be somewhere.
Yeah, I hope so. But I'm looking at other movies like James and the Giant Peach. Page Master, Macaulay Culkin.
Page Master. Yeah, that was like starts off live action, goes into a cartoon.
Yeah. Macaulay Culkin's going to be on the new season of Fallout.
Oh, is he? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I just seen that today.
Interesting. I know he's in. I think he's in Chicago either this week or next week, something like that.
Like, when's the last time I've heard? Like, is he making a comeback? Like, I figured he'd make a comeback sometime.
He was on Celebrity Jeopardy last season, and me and my wife watched it, and he actually did really well.
I bet he's going to turn up. I bet he's going to start turning up in movies and stuff like that, and then he's going to eventually get his own movie.
He's going to pull a Keanu Reeves. All of a sudden, he's back, and he's in everything.
Yeah, I bet you. Or like, what's his name that was in The Partridge Family? Who he was Freddy Krueger and...
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah, Jackie Earl Haley. Like, where he was like this kid actor, and they showed up and played all these awesome roles in his 50s.
Yeah. And I love him. He's great.
Yeah. That's why that's what I'm saying. I could see Well, like Neil Patrick Harris kind of did that too. Like he was a child star, and then he showed up in How I Met Your Mother, and then and no, he showed up in
Harold
White
and
Castle.
Kumar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Harold Kumar go to White Castle, and he is the best character. I love him. Well, he's done some shitty stuff lately, but I love him.
Yeah.
What was the Christmas one where he's getting with this woman where he and he starts massaging her. She goes, "I thought you were gay." He goes, "I'm gay for that pussy."
So good. 'Cause he's just pretending to be gay to get women, is what they say in the movie. Which I thought was the cleverest way to like bring him back into the movie. I thought it was so funny.
And it was like that was like 2011. It's like, man, we can't have jokes like that these days because that is such a that's such a good one.
It is good. I love it.
But
I love
my
it.
favorite I've met. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say no. I really liked. I love that scene with him, and I know that the Harold and Kumar is why he got the role in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah,
And which is just another fantastic movie. Which I firmly believe that his whole thing about the Karate Kid is what spawned Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody saw it and they were like, we can make a show out of that. At least 6 seasons and a movie.
Yeah. What's the two guys were in How I Met Your Mother, and they probably went with it.
Yeah. And that was one of the great scenes. I still think that's one of the best all time scenes in that show. Is just where he's like, it's his bachelor party, and he's like, you got almost everything right except one thing. You didn't get the real Karate Kid. And then he starts talking about William Zabka being the real Karate Kid, and then the clown takes off his makeup, and it's William Zabka. It was so good.
The second half of that season, the last half of that season will come out this month.
Yeah. So it's 3 parts. So they're doing another part. Okay. Yeah, they're doing another part, I think, this month, and then the last one's in January, I want to say.
Okay. And they're starting to do conventions like they do with Supernatural. So I'm wondering, because they did that with that and The Boys in Jersey. So hopefully they come around here.
Yep. And then the movie, it's Karate Kid Legends, I think is what it's called, with Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan.
Yeah, Jackie Chan, yeah.
I'm very interested to see that. With the direction they've gone with things, hopefully people involved in Cobra Kai are also involved in that movie, because that could be fantastic tying those two together. And I have a feeling, and I have a feeling it's going to have something to do with Miyagi's mysterious background that they've been talking about now.
I bet you like Hawk or something's going to end up in the UFC or something. They're going to do a movie where I'd say Hawk is probably your best bet to get in the UFC.
Yeah,
because he's got the personality.
Right. Yeah, I think I know that it's Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio teaching a new student karate and everything. But again, I think that Cobra Kai is kind of leading up to Mr. Miyagi had a mysterious past, and I think in some way that'll connect to Jackie Chan. And then I think they're going to retcon the Karate Kid movie with Jackie Chan by saying that Jackie Chan learned karate and he does a combination of kung fu and karate. So I that's my theory. That's what I think is going to happen.
I bet they will. And then bring in Hilary Swank.
At some point, she's got to show up, and they're just teasing us right now.
Yeah.
Big old tease.
Yeah.
Like she has to show up in the show before the end.
It'd be nice. It would be nice to tie it all together. So bring in what's his name? Little Will Smith or whatever his name is.
Jaden Smith.
Jaden Smith. Yeah, bring in Jaden Smith.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited to see what happens with this last season. And I wish they were doing more, but I also get you got to kind of move on at some point, and you don't want to go on.
For a while.
Yeah, this is what, season 6, I think is what we're on.
Yeah, season 6. And so, I mean, that's a pretty good run.
It is. It's a very good run, and it's better to come out, to go out while you're on top, because sometimes shows run too long and then they're just not good anymore.
They're gonna I think they're gonna continue the legacy. They're gonna continue with the movies, and then they're gonna be like, oh, let's bring it back for a show, and they're gonna do another show. I guarantee you.
Oh, they will. They'll keep it going. The franchise is making some good money, and it was very surprising to me that it was so good.
As long as what's his name, Stingray?
Yeah,
Stingray's in it. He's actually talented. That dude does some pro wrestling too.
Does he really?
Like he's got videos and stuff that are hilarious. Like the dude's actually pretty freaking down to earth and funny.
Huh. Yeah, I can see them doing a whole. I think they planned for like 3 or 4 more Karate Kid movies. Is I think what their plan is right now. So this one with Machio and Chan will be the first of those. But I mean, I like that they are going out on top. Well, every season's like up the ante a little bit. But another show that did that real well was The Good Place. They only did 4 seasons, but they were 4 solid seasons of show.
I don't think I watched it all.
It was very good. It's another comfort show of mine that I could just turn on anytime. It was really funny, and Ted Danson, the best.
Yeah, I don't know where I ended with that.
Yeah, if we get a chance, watch it and finish it. It's good. And it was a solid 4 seasons. It wasn't like, they kind of biffed it at the end. It was pretty good.
Another 90s kids movie I like is Hook. One of my favorites of all time. Classic. I have the autograph and picture with Rashawn Hammond, who played the little black kid.
Yeah.
And Dante Bosco, Rufio. Yeah. Rashawn Hammond actually signed a copy of Hook for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The dude's hilarious. The dude's cool as hell. I talked to him about I talked to him more than Dante Bosco. Dante Bosco was kind of like, you touched me too long.
Like, you're sitting there groping him. He's like, okay, man, it's been a little too much now.
No, I was waiting for them to take the picture and I had my arm around him. You could tell he's like getting annoyed that the picture wasn't coming fast enough. Yeah. Rashawn Hammond, I actually sat and talked to him and stuff like that. And he was cool as hell. But he, I was asking about the food with the food fight. He's like, that was a real food fight. And he said it was a fun time, but he talked about it was mostly like whipped cream.
Yeah, that was a good movie, and that's one of the first movies that I remember going to see in theaters. It might not have been the first movie I saw in theaters, but it's like probably my first memory of going to the movie theater.
Oh man, my first memory of going to the movie theater, other than the horror movies, my first memory of going to a good kids movie was Ferngully.
Mm-hmm. Remember we watched that on.
It couldn't have been Ferngully because that came out in '92. There was a Tom Selleck movie. He adopted this black kid or something like that, and he was a cop. And it's a real forgotten movie. What is that movie? It's a Tom Selleck movie, and it was like a kids movie.
I couldn't tell you.
You probably couldn't because no one knows what this movie is. But I seen it in theaters because that's where I've seen the previews for the Mario Brothers movie.
Oh.
That's when I first seen the previews for the Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah. Let's see. Hook came out in 91, so that tracks. That might have actually been the first movie I went to go see.
No, because, when the Ninja Turtles came out in 91, I think. And I've seen every Ninja Turtles in theater.
Yeah, I can't remember going to a movie before that, but I could be wrong. But I would have been 6 at the time, I think, 5 or 6. So that kind of tracks. Yeah, it's interesting. I remember going to see Hook in theaters, and I remember how much I loved that movie. It was so good.
What was this movie?
The late great Robin Williams.
And might not think, is Tom Selleck not the right person?
I don't know. Can you describe what happens in the movie?
I don't. So he had this. Tom Selleck is a cop and this black kid. Maybe it wasn't Tom Selleck. I swear to God, it was Tom Selleck. Maybe it's somebody else with a mustache. Is there anybody else famous with a mustache?
Burt Reynolds?
Maybe it's Burt Reynolds. I don't know. But Tom Selleck, didn't he do... Hold on a second. Well, he did Three Men and a Baby.
Yeah. Yeah, he did Three Men and a Baby, and I know that wasn't the one you were talking about.
Burt Reynolds. It's probably Burt Reynolds.
That's quite possible. Burt Reynolds was big at that time, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're thinking of Who's the Manly Men.
Right.
I'm thinking Tom Selleck and Burt Reynolds. Actor. He last acted in 2021.
What?
Is Burt Reynolds still alive? Okay.
No, he's dead.
Cop and a Half.
Was it Burt Reynolds?
It was Burt Reynolds. Cop and a Half. This kid witnessed a murder, and he refuses to testify unless he is given the chance to be a policeman. So Burt Reynolds has to run around with him as a policeman.
Huh.
So
Okay. I don't know that one.
Yeah, I seen that in theater. What year did that come out? 93. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is, the 80s, I guess early 90s was kind of still the 80s.
Yeah.
So,
We were still transitioning to the 90s at the time.
yeah. Until I think around 93, 94 is when grunge started picking up.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Like the early
But,
90s were still a good time. I'd say up till about 93, 94. I remember those times being good.
but All Dogs Go to Heaven,
Uh-huh.
Burt Reynolds was Charlie.
Yep.
And Judith Barcy died during the filming of that movie. You still there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Judith Barcy died during the filming of that movie. So there's a big conspiracy theory around that. But so Burt Reynolds he did goodbye to her character, and he made it a close set. So like all the words he was saying to her, he was acting like he was actually saying goodbye to her because she died.
Yeah.
And it's when you know that and watch that scene, it's very sad.
Yeah. Damn. Did not know that. Yeah, that's a good one. Do you remember Richie Rich?
Ducky's voice in Land Before Time too.
Huh.
I smell.
You remember Richie Rich with Macaulay Culkin?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fairly good adaptation from the comic books. It was entertaining.
It's been a long time.
I don't think it was good, but it was entertaining. I mean, again, it was good for kids.
Richie Rich. See, I'm thinking of Little Rascals because the little blonde kid that was rich in that movie.
Yeah.
And he was always getting with Darla. Him and
Yeah.
him and Alfalfa were fighting over Darla.
Dude, so we watched the Little Rascals movie, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. We turned it on for my daughter and I was watching it. There was like some really funny parts in that movie actually, and like there's a funny part where they dress up Alfalfa and what's the name of the other?
Look at that chewing gum walk. Or look or no, he goes look at that milkshake walk or something like that.
Oh yeah. But it was funny because I was watching it, and then two of the boys, like they dress as girls to like sneak into this. They're trying to get away from something, or the bullies. They were trying to get away from the bullies, and they end up with all the girls like with the ballerina stuff. And then they were like, "Oh, are you fairies?" And they're like, "No, we're just two little girls." I was like, that was a not politically correct joke, but it's funny.
It was a good. I'm telling you, that was a good movie. And they did a really good job with all the actors and everything. Like
they did, like
balancing like everybody in there.
And I don't think anybody in that movie really went on to do much, but it was a really well written movie. It was pretty funny.
No, I don't think anybody really did anything after that. I'm trying to.
The one who played Buckwheat, he did go on. He went on to play in Independence Day. He was like the son.
Oh, he was Will Smith's son.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, but Darla's pretty hot now.
Brittany Ashton Holmes. Yep. Yeah, no, that's one of the things I do like about going back and watching these movies we watched as kids is like there's some jokes in there that we didn't get as kids that were for the adults. And now when I see them, they're pretty funny. You probably got that joke.
I think I remember getting that joke.
If I got that joke, I don't remember it. I barely remembered the movie until I watched it again, and it all came flooding back to me. And I was like, okay, I think this is not bad. This is actually a pretty good movie.
The kid that played Spanky was perfect.
He was great.
Oh, remember the movie The Stupids?
No, I don't remember that one.
Played Alfalfa was Tom Reynolds or Tom Arnold. Tom Reynolds. Tom Arnold. And it's about this family that's stupid. But it's like a goofy slapstick movie.
I never saw that.
Oh my God, I feel like I have to watch that. Yeah, I remember it being a dumb movie, and why did it exist?
Yeah.
The 90s were another... thing, another era where people just got away with stuff.
They did. It was a different time, and people weren't watching as closely, I guess. Oh, Mel
Like,
Brooks was in The Little Rascals.
oh yeah, he was in it. Yeah,
Yeah. Huh.
yeah, he had
Funny.
a one-liner in it.
They had a couple of cameos in there that I kind of noticed. I mean, obviously Whoopi Goldberg was in it. Daryl Hannah. There was a few others that were in it that I was actually surprised at how many cameos they really got. It was kind of like watching the Muppets movie.
Leah Thompson,
Leah Thompson was in it. Yep, she was the ballerina teacher.
Donald Trump was in it.
Reba McEntire, Donald Trump. He was in it.
He is Waldo's dad.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, Raven Simone, Mary Kate Olsen, Ashley Olsen, George Wendt was in there. John Ashker, I know him from somewhere. Yeah, there was a lot of cameos in that movie. It was funny. I liked it. I would watch it again. I'd rate it 10 out of 10. It was a good kids movie. Like, God, what are some other good kids movies we watched growing up? Like, this is, I don't know, because like now we're down nostalgia lane, and I fucking love it because all these memories are flooding back to me.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm trying to think. Baby's Day Out. Did you ever watch that one?
Well, I started thinking. I know Baby's Day Out, but I was thinking of Look Who's Talking.
Luke is talking. Yeah, Bruce Willis voice Mikey.
they had the sperm talking.
Yeah, that's a movie I haven't seen in a long time, but I bet I would get a kick out of it still.
Baby's Day Out.
Baby's Day Out. It was pretty bad. This one was a bad movie. I know it was a bad movie.
I think I remembered that face. Yes.
So,
he's like up in the kid's up in the air going woo.
Yeah. Basically, the whole premise of this is some thieves end up getting this kid. I don't remember if they kidnapped him or what happened, but then they're trying to like get him back, and the baby's just dumb lucking his way around the city. Like, I remember like a part where they're in this construction site and he's crawling across like steel girders or something. Yeah. And he crawls onto the crane that's moving. It's just stupid dumb luck that the kid's even alive. But it was so funny. It's funny to think about now and how ridiculous of a premise that was. But I remember as a kid, I've seen it at least 10 times.
But like, that's when like they greenlit stuff that was original. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to throw you one that's been coming up a lot recently, actually. Three Ninjas.
Oh my God. I love that movie. Yeah. They made a bunch more than just the first two. I don't know if you know this.
I know they had 3 of them.
Oh, there was
more after that.
They had one. It was something at an amusement park, and Hulk Hogan was in it.
3 Ninjas back, 3 Ninjas knuckle up, 3 Ninjas surf ninjas. Oh, that's a different movie. I do remember Surf Ninjas though.
We'll talk about that next. But no, there was a 3 Ninjas movie with Hulk Hogan in it, and he was helping them, and it was terrible, absolutely terrible.
High Noon.
What is that a real thing?
It's called 3 Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. That's what it was called. And Hulk Hogan is on the cover too.
He is.
Oh my God. Hulk Hogan was in everything in the 90s.
Yeah, he had the movie, what's the wrestling movie they first did? Is The Worst Thing.
I don't remember.
Like, did you just dookie your pants? No Holds Barred. Because I had the cross-eyed dude, black dude.
I don't remember that movie. I don't know if I saw that one.
Well, I watched it 100 times, even though it was like the worst movie ever, because it was a wrestling movie. And so basically, Vince McMahon wanted to make a star, wanted to transition to movies. So him and Hulk Hogan locked themselves in his hotel room, and they literally wrote the movie in like 8 hours. And then they produced it and everything themselves, and it's so bad. Like, you probably could not sit and watch this movie. It's that bad.
Yeah, so like another one that I remember Hulk Hogan being in, Thunder in Paradise.
Oh yeah,
did you? What did they did like 3 or 4 of those movies?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember watching those, and it was a very stupid premise. I don't even remember what the movies were, but I remember something about a speedboat and, went stealth. I don't know. It was a weird show, but had Hulk Hogan starring in it.
He was
And then
Mr. Nanny.
the other good one, Mr. Nanny. Do you remember Mr. Nanny?
Yeah, I just said that.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
I said Mr. Nanny.
Ah,
And Suburban Commando.
Suburban Commando with Christopher Lloyd.
See, his first movie was Rocky 3.
Yeah.
That was actually good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one of the better Rockies. The God, Mr. Nanny, I forgot about that.
Undertaker was in Suburban Commando too.
Was he?
Yeah, that's crazy. Shelley Duvall was in it.
Okay.
Michael Faustino was in it. Bud Bundy.
Huh. Interesting. Well,
Oh no, he's Bud Bundy's brother.
Oh, okay.
David.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan was just in everything. I mean, he was in Gremlins too. He has that small little cameo
he was in
bit.
Gremlins too. Yeah.
He just, for no reason, in the middle of the movie, there's just this little cutaway to the Gremlins like terrorizing the movie theater.
They really tried making him a movie star. He was not good.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't, but at the same time, he gave us some great memories of some shitty movies. Okay, going back to it. Let's see, what else we got?
Sure did.
What else we got? I'm trying to think of other kids' movies that we watched.
Sidekicks.
With Chuck Norris?
Chuck Norris and the Ladybugs guy, Jonathan Brandis.
I remember that movie. I remember that being like one I really wanted to watch, and then I watched it and I thought it was kind of stupid. It was kind of like The Karate Kid, but I don't know. It was weird because he kept seeing Chuck Norris.
Right. He was fantasizing about him.
It was like imaginary, and then he actually ends up being on his team at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. It was not a very good movie.
No.
But I remember that. Oh, man. No. Sidekicks. Oh, and then you brought up Surf Ninjas. Surf Ninjas was a classic. It had Rob Schneider in it. God's sakes, Rob Schneider was in this movie. And he was the guy who thought he had like the mystical powers where he says like what if and then something would happen.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was Surf Ninjas was great.
I'm trying to bring back memories of it. I remember the main character, the Asian dude.
Yeah. God, I can't remember the names of anybody else. I just remember Rob Schneider being in this movie. It was very out of place, but he was in it.
That the guy that was in Ninja Turtles 2?
Ernie Reyes? I believe so.
He actually was like Michelangelo or something, and they loved him so much that they actually put him as a character in the movie.
He was Kino in Ninja Turtles 2, but he was also one of the Ninja Turtles.
He was one of the Ninja Turtles. Which one was he? But that's what I was saying. Like they loved his personality so much they actually put his character in the movie.
Yeah. So it's Surf Ninjas.
Leslie Nielsen's in it.
In Surf Ninjas?
Yeah.
He was the bad guy, wasn't he? Oh my god. I completely forgot about that. That's so crazy. Just you saying that, like it brought back that flash in my head. But yeah, he was the bad guy. Leslie Nielsen played in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh man. Maybe this movie is much better than I remember it being. I don't know.
Speaking of Christopher Lloyd, he had a lot of random parts. So I remember him in Dennis the Menace movie.
Uh-huh.
He was the bad guy in that. So he was like a hobo where he's like a thief.
Uh-huh.
And I remember he was actually kind of menacing because he had this knife and he's eating this apple with his knife. But didn't he put like X-Lax in his beans or something like that? Something stupid happened.
I'm trying to. I don't even really remember Dennis the Menace that much. I know I've seen it.
Oh, I've seen it 100 times. Walter Matthau was Mr. Wilson.
Yeah,
he was so good.
Walter Matthau,
and he had to put the gum as his teeth because he broke his teeth, and people were coming over, so he put gum up
Yep. Oh man, God, yeah, it's so good. Christopher Lloyd is always an amazing actor too. His little cartoon character self in Who Framed Roger Rabbit always scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was actually an intimidating bad guy in the 90s.
He
Yeah, Who
was.
Framed Roger Rabbit was that,
Yeah.
like, fond memories, but when they killed the shoe in the what was it called?
The dip.
The dip, and the shoe was like, no, 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 and I felt bad for the shoe.
I know. Well, in the new Chip and Dale's movie that came out a couple years ago, so Roger Rabbit and Dip made an appearance in that movie because it was kind of related in a way, just kind of the way they did it, where it's cartoons in a live action world. They did that was like kind of the next Roger Rabbit. And I actually thought that movie was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
But yeah, I mean that Who Framed Roger Rabbit was always a classic as a kid too. I loved watching that movie.
John
Bob
Mulaney and
Hoskins.
Andy Samberg,
Yeah.
but like Ugly Sonic was in it.
Yeah, Ugly Sonic was in it. He got his time in the sun.
Yeah, there were so many Easter eggs in that movie.
Well, and I love that they used both Warner Brothers and Disney characters in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was great that they were able to bring them together, just like they did with Roger Rabbit. You know, they were able to bring all these characters. So there's like stuff about Superman and Batman in there. There's I'm trying to think of what some of the other bits were in there, but they had a lot of different cameos and characters in there. It was a lot of fun.
Jim Cummings played Fat Cat.
Yeah. Well, what's really sad about the Rescue Rangers movie was so Peter Pan is the bad guy, right? And
Yeah.
he goes into his whole story about how I became a bad guy because, you know, after I started growing up, I wasn't cute anymore and they didn't give pictures to, you know, kids that aren't cute. And apparently, so that's the actual true story of the kid who voiced Peter Pan. So like basically as he grew up and his voice deepened and he got acne, like he couldn't get work anymore as like a voice actor or an actor, like all these things. And eventually like he actually eventually ended up killing himself because he was so depressed over what people in Hollywood were saying to him.
Yeah.
So like they use that whole story that was kind of dark in this kid-friendly movie. And I was like, holy shit, like that's some dark stuff. J.K. Simmons was in that movie too as the claymation cop.
Oh, Alan Oppenheimer was He-Man. Do you know what the significance of that is?
No.
He's Skeletor.
Oh.
He voiced Skeletor. He also voiced Falcor. We got a picture with him. Picture with
Nice.
him and Jim Cummings, who I'm surprised he did. Well, let's see here. See, I was wondering why Winnie the Pooh, because you'd think he'd do Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh wasn't in it because that's what he's famous for is Winnie the Pooh and Darkwing Duck.
Oh, really?
And Shredder.
Who's Shredder?
In the cartoon, they had different people playing Shredder in different times, but he did for a while too.
So I was going to say the dad from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air did Shredder.
Yeah, he didn't always do Shredder.
Ah, okay.
They had like three different actors played Shredder
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
in the cartoons.
Well, I don't know. Are we?
What's that?
I was going to say, are we out of nostalgia?
No, I got The Sandlot, Little Giants, Rookie of the
shit.
Year, Angels in the Outfield.
We might have to save some nostalgia for next time too. But Sandlot, fantastic movie. Heavyweights, I'm sure is in there too.
Heavyweights, Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller, fucking man.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
Oh my god. Oh man.
Addams Family,
Yeah, Addams Family is good.
which
Man,
were great movies.
why did we have so much better movies when we were kids?
It's true.
Why is everything now garbage?
Like my daughter doesn't barely watch. She just watches anime. There's nothing that good out.
I don't get it. Like, I mean, because I've been trying to find some good movies, some newer movies for my daughter to watch, and but I keep showing her the old movies because they're so much better than anything new that's coming out.
They are.
I just want her to take I want her to take a break from Paw Patrol and watch something that's actually fun and clever.
Yeah. No, there isn't anything good these days. Like the cartoons were better.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles and X-Men and they were actually good cartoons. They got some stuff screaming and stuff like that, but
Yeah. Well, and the kid stuff now is like too kiddie.
yeah, that's the thing.
It's like it's really really soft kid movies.
But where's the Tom and Jerry kids and
Uh-huh.
that was a good cartoon. Tom and Jerry kids,
Yeah.
that was where are these good cartoons? That's just like normal cartoons.
Right. Well, they don't exist anymore. It's funny if you watch the old Tom and Jerry and all the terrible things they do to each other. And if you watch like Tom and Jerry now, I don't know if they've been on the air now, but like in the last like 10 years, if you watch them, they don't really fight each other. Nothing really happens. And I was like, come on. And I get it. You don't want kids seeing the cat swallowing a bottle of aspirin because he got clonked on the head by a mouse with a frying pan. But I mean, come on, we turned out okay. It's fine. It's probably okay.
I mean, I used to watch Itchy and Scratchy clips.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, God, we did. We had some like really good. If you watch the old Captain Planet show, if you watch that, there was actually blood and stuff in that. I remember my buddy showed me this, and I didn't believe him because I hadn't watched it in many many years. But I was staying at his house down at Lake of Egypt, and he was like, "What?" He's like, "Watch this." He's like, "Watch this episode," and we're like watching, and so we're watching this episode and he's like, look, they're going to kill these whales. So like these whales go through this grinder and just blood comes out the other side. I was like, what the fuck?
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It's so interesting to see where things have gone, because I want my daughter to watch all these like crazy things that we watched when we were kids, and my son too. And, because I think it builds a little character.
Well, we turned out fine.
We did. We're okay. It's not like our world's all
any problems I have has nothing to do with video games or cartoons.
no.
Any problem, it was due to other things. It was not due to video games and cartoons. I am perfectly fine.
Right.
For the most part.
Right? Like we're not walking around the streets with swords attacking people and trying to get loot drops. That's not how it works.
Right.
I think that there's just something about the shows that we watched as we were kids, and it's hard to say.
Plus, I was watching Mankind, freaking jumping off, doing the elbow drop off the side of the ring onto the ground. You know what I mean? Right. I watched pro wrestling too, and they did a lot of crazy stuff. And I've never really okay, people get hurt, but people are going to get hurt doing stupid stuff anyways. If they didn't watch it on wrestling, they would have figured. I think they have these innate traits that make them want to do stupid stuff.
Right. No, I agree with you. We grew up watching these cartoons that were pretty violent. Even the Ninja Turtles, it was fairly violent, but it was fun. We loved watching it. They were good cartoons.
Yes, and they kept us out of our parents' hair.
Yeah, so
we got no educational value from it.
That's right. That's right. We didn't need educational value. We learned everything in school.
Yeah, me fail English. That's the thing is what was it? The whole censorship thing in the 80s.
Yeah.
They won.
Yeah. Oh God, what movie? I'm trying to remember what the movie was. There was a very popular movie that started the PG-13 ratings system, and it was I want to say it was in the 80s. It was either in the late 70s, early 80s. I can't remember what the first movie was that got a PG-13 rating.
The first one was Red Dawn in 84.
Was it Red Dawn? Okay. So Red Dawn, which is a great movie. Everybody should watch that one. The original, not the new one. But they weren't really rating things too much. It was either PG or it was restricted. it was like you either can watch it or you can't. You know, they had to create new new categories. Because I mean, like there was some stuff in the 80s, like the 70s and 80s, that was rated PG that probably would not get a PG rating right now.
2 films responsible for the PG-13 rating was The Gremlins and Indiana Jones Temple of the Doom, released in May and June of 1984. Parents complained to theaters about the level of violence contained in these films, particularly Gremlins, which she did throw a gremlin in a blender. Which but
it was a pretty violent movie.
I don't really. I could see it like, okay, there's some creepy creatures in this, so
yeah,
but it's not R. But it's not. I don't know. I still let my kid watches it. Which had trailers that didn't fully reflect the tone of the film. Okay, so the film didn't match the trailer.
Yeah.
The film also had a toy commercial campaign, which only focused on Gizmo. And then Spielberg were involved in both those movies. And he's the one that proposed a PG-13, which was adopted by August, which is probably when Red Dawn came out.
Well, I know the original screenplay for Gremlins was supposed to be a horror movie.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I always thought of it as a horror movie.
Yeah, it kind of is, but they kind of made it more fun and goofy.
Right.
Even though it's still got a lot of the elements of a horror movie.
But I've been watching it since I was 3. So, when I'm like Christmas 4 or 5 years old watching Gremlins, I'm thinking this is a horror movie.
Right. Yeah, it's one of my favorite Christmas movies. Such a good one.
It's fantastic.
The second one is off the wall insane, but I still like that one too.
The second one's awesome.
It's
a girl gremlin.
It's such a ridiculous movie. The second one was so insane.
The girl gremlin gave me funny feelings.
Have you watched that Key and Peele yet with them discussing Gremlins too? It's so funny. Maybe there's a gremlin that turns into a spider. Oh, that's good. We're keeping it. It's going in the movie.
The sequel to the Mogwai season 2's out, by the way. I got to watch that. Season 1 was actually really good.
I want to watch that because I heard that was pretty good.
It is. I would recommend watching that. It definitely goes over backstory a little bit of Gizmo and stuff like that. Okay. And it starts out like you only get a small part of it, but there's actually a little gremlin's city.
Oh.
Secret city in the forest. And then I think they get raided, and then Gizmo gets kidnapped, and then it's basically that's how Gizmo ended up in Japan. In a Japan store. So you can tell why Gizmo ended up in that store, but this is back in the 1920s, so Gizmo's actually really old.
Yeah, interesting. Huh. Well, that's one I'll have to watch. I think we're about out of time, though.
Roger that.
Gremlins. Right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us on this episode. Make sure to like us on Facebook and make sure to check out our older episodes. We have a lot of good content, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Level up, guys.